The polluted Lagos air hung heavy, thick with the scent of exhaust fumes, frying plantains, and the unspoken anxieties of millions. Ifaranyi, his lean frame a testament to too many missed meals, expertly navigated his battered motorcycle taxi through the relentless traffic. Each fare was a victory. Each kobo earned a tiny brick laid in the crumbling foundation of their dreams. His phone, an ancient Nokia, buzzed in his pocket. It was Amarachi. Her voice, even through the crackling line, was sunshine after a storm. "My love," she chirped, "did you eat anything today?" He smiled, a genuine rare thing. "Just the dust of Lagos, my queen. But I'm bringing home a feast tonight. A goosey soup, just how you like it." It was a lie, of course. 2 packs of Indomie and egg were more likely, but he needed her to believe. Amarachi, from the rolling green hills of Imo State, had found herself stranded in the chaotic heart of Lagos, tethered to Ifaranyi, a young man from the bustling markets of Onitsha, Anambra. Their love story wasn't one of grand gestures or fairy tale beginnings. It was forged in the crucible of shared hardship. They'd met at a friend's low-key birthday party, two ambitious souls adrift in a city that promised much but delivered little. Ifaranyi, fresh out of university with a degree no one seemed to value, was hawking phone accessories under the scorching sun. Amarachi, a recent graduate too, was trying to make ends meet as a sales assistant in a boutique where commissions were as scarce as genuine smiles from her boss. Their dates were walks by the polluted lagoon, sharing a single puff-puff, or quiet evenings on the rickety balcony of Ifaranyi's cramped one-room apartment in Mushin, dreaming aloud of a future that felt impossibly distant. Their laughter, however, was rich and abundant, echoing off the worn walls, a stark contrast to the gnawing hunger in their bellies. Amarachi's faithfulness attracting suitors. It wasn't long before Amarachi's quiet dignity, her striking beauty, and her unwavering commitment to Ifaranyi began to attract attention. Despite their poverty, she carried herself with an innate grace. Her skin, the color of rich cocoa, glowed, and her eyes, deep and intelligent, held a warmth that drew people in. Suitors, more financially stable than Ifeanyi, started to appear. There was Chidi, a suave businessman who drove a sleek Mercedes and offered to set her up in her own boutique. He'd stop by her shop, casually mentioning trips to Dubai and designer bags, always with a subtle disdain for her chosen partner. Then there was Emeka, a distant cousin who worked for an oil company, sending her unsolicited mobile money transfers and hinting at a life of comfort in Port Harcourt. Amarachi, her older sister Chamaka, would implore over video calls, her voice laced with desperation. "This boy, Ifaranyi, he has nothing. Look at you wasting your youth. Do you want to suffer forever? Chidi is a good man, stable. He can give you the life you deserve. This Ifaranyi, or whatever you call him, what has he shown you but struggle?" Her mother, a woman of deep faith and even deeper concern, would often say, "My daughter, love is good, but it doesn't pay the bills." Ifaranyi's family, they're from Anambra. They have their ways. "Are you sure this is the path for you?" Each time Amarachi would listen patiently, her gaze distant, then shake her head. "Mama, Chiamaka, you don't understand. Ifaranyi is good. He has a good heart, and he's going to make it. I believe in him." Her conviction was a steel rod, unbending. She saw beyond the faded clothes and the empty pockets. She saw his brilliance, his relentless drive, his unyielding optimism, even in the face of relentless setbacks. She remembered the night he came home, drenched and defeated, after losing his last 5,000 naira to a police officer's impromptu toll fee. He'd collapsed on their shared mattress, tears silently tracing paths down his grimy face. Amarachi had simply held him, whispering affirmations, reminding him of his strength, of their shared future, the weight of the world. Their struggles were a relentless tide. Ifaranya's motorcycle broke down more often than it ran, each repair eating into their meager savings. Amarachi lost her job when the boutique owner's niece needed a position. They survived on borrowed money, on the kindness of a few sympathetic neighbors, and on Amarachi's uncanny ability to stretch a small bag of rice into a week's worth of meals. She started braiding hair from their small room, her fingers nimble, her spirit unyielding. Ifeanyi, meanwhile, tried everything selling data bundles, working as a bus conductor, even briefly attempting to apprentice as a mechanic, though his hands were more suited to a keyboard than a wrench. The humiliation was a constant companion. Ifeanyi would often see old university mates driving past in flashy cars, their laughter echoing his own unspoken failures. He once ran into a former lecturer who barely acknowledged him, mistaking him for a roadside hawker. Amarachi, too, faced the pitting glances, the thinly veiled judgments from women who once envied her academic achievements. Yet, through it all, they clung to each other, their love a fragile, flickering flame in a world determined to extinguish it. "We will rise from this, my beautiful one," Ifeanyi would promise, tracing the lines of her hand as they lay side by side on their thin mattress, the Lagos night symphony of generators and distant music playing outside. "One day we'll have a house so grand, your sisters will regret every word. And you, my queen, you will want for nothing." Amarachi would simply squeeze his hand, her faith a quiet, steady beacon. She knew the path was long, and the odds were stacked against them. But she also knew with every fiber of her being that Ifeanyi was her destiny, and together they were unbreakable. The hairbraiding business, while providing a trickle of income, wasn't enough. Days blurred into weeks, marked by the constant hum of their landlord's generator and the metallic tang of desperation. Ifeanyi, his pride battered but not broken, was at his wit's end. He'd applied to hundreds of jobs, each rejection a fresh wound. One fateful afternoon, as Ifeanyi was painstakingly repairing a faulty phone charger he hoped to sell, Amarachi's phone buzzed with an incoming video call. It was Ngozi, her best friend from university. Ngozi, unlike Amarachi, came from a family whose wealth was as old as the colonial buildings in Ikoyi. Her father, Chief Okoro, was a titan of industry, his name synonymous with success across various sectors: real estate, manufacturing, logistics. "Ami, my darling, it's been ages." Ngozi's voice, bright and effervescent, filled the cramped room. She was sitting in what looked like a sprawling, opulent living room, a stark contrast to their humble abode. Amarachi forced a smile. "Ngozi, my love, how are you?" After catching up on pleasantries, Ngozi's tone grew serious. "Ami, are you okay? You look thin, and I haven't seen you around. Are you still with that Ifeanyi boy?" Or Amarachi's chin lifted. "Yes, Ngozi, I am. We're fine, just hustling." Ngozi sighed. "Look, Ami, I know things are hard. My dad's company, Okoro Holdings, is expanding. They're looking for sharp young talent. I know it's a long shot, but if Ifeanyi is as brilliant as you always said, maybe there's a place for him, even at an entry level. They have a new logistics division starting up." Amarachi's heart leaped into her throat. This wasn't just a job offer. It was a lifeline, a chance for Ifeanyi, for them, to finally breathe. But pride, a stubborn companion to poverty, warred within her. Asking Ngozi, her wealthy best friend, for a favor felt like admitting complete defeat. Yet, she thought of Ifeanyi's weary face, the dark circles under his eyes, the unspoken burden he carried. She thought of the hunger that gnawed at them. Pride could wait. Their survival couldn't. "Ngozi," Amarachi said, her voice a little shaky, Would you mind putting in a word for him? He's truly exceptional. He just needs a chance. Any chance." Ngozi didn't hesitate. "Of course, Ami. You're my best friend. Send me his CV. I'll make sure it gets to the right person." "No promises, but I'll try my best." That night, Amarachi told Ifeanyi about the call. His initial reaction was a mix of disbelief and reluctant hope. "Ngozi's father's company? Ami, are you sure? We're talking about Chief Okoro." "Yes, my love," she insisted, her eyes shining with renewed optimism. "It's a chance. Please, let's take it. Prepare your CV. Make it shine." Weeks of anxious waiting followed. Ifeanyi went for the interview, a bewildering experience in a gleaming skyscraper where every surface gleamed and the air condition hummed with power. He felt out of place, his only suit borrowed and slightly too tight, but he held on to Amarachi's unwavering belief in him. Finally, the call came. Ifeanyi got the job. It was an entry-level position in the logistics department, a far cry from his dreams of being an innovator. But it was a foot in the door, a steady paycheck, a chance to use his mind, not just his muscles. The change was gradual at first, then rapid. Ifeanyi, with his sharp intellect and relentless work ethic, quickly proved his worth at Okoro Holdings. He absorbed everything, volunteered for extra tasks, and came up with innovative solutions that saved the company money and time. He rose through the ranks with astonishing speed from logistics officer to team lead, then to departmental head. Within 5 years, Ifeanyi was a senior manager, driving a sleek SUV, living in a spacious apartment in a secure estate, and wearing bespoke suits. The skinny, hungry young man was replaced by a confident, polished executive. He invested wisely, guided by the financial acumen he'd developed watching Chief Okoro operate. He bought property, diversified his portfolio. He was, by any measure, a rich man. Through it all, Amarachi remained his anchor. She celebrated every promotion, every milestone. She continued to manage their household, turning their new apartment into a warm, inviting home. She pursued her own passions, opening a small, successful online fashion business. But her primary focus remained Ifeanyi and their shared journey. Their evenings were filled with conversations, not about bills and hunger, but about business strategies and future plans. They traveled, experiencing the world beyond Mushin and Lagos. But amidst the newfound opulence, something subtly shifted. Ifeanyi, while still deeply loving, became increasingly engrossed in his work. He was driven, almost obsessively so, by the need to prove himself, to overcome the ghosts of his impoverished past. He was the golden boy of Okoro Holdings, admired and sought after. Then came the pressure, not from Amarachi, but from his own family. Ifeanyi's parents, overjoyed by his success, began to subtly, then overtly, push for him to marry. Not just any marriage, but one that would solidify his new status. Ifeanyi, my son, his mother, Mama Ifeanyi, would say on their weekly video calls, her voice now brimming with pride instead of worry. It is time to settle down. A man of your standing needs a wife from a good family, a proper Anambra woman. His father, Papa Ifeanyi, would nod gravely. Yes, my son, we have seen a few good prospects. Daughters of respected businessmen, educated, well-mannered. It is time for you to fulfill your destiny. Ifeanyi would deflect gently. Mama, Papa, I am with Amarachi. She has been with me through everything. The mentions of Amarachi were met with a stiff silence or a quick change of topic. They knew of her, of course. They knew she was from Imo State, a fact that seemed to hang in the air like a forbidden word. They knew she had stood by him, but that fact seemed to hold little weight against their deeply ingrained cultural biases. To them, she was simply that girl. Amarachi, ever perceptive, felt the chill from his family, even from a distance. She overheard hushed phone conversations, saw the strained expressions on Ifeanyi's face after talking to his parents. She knew what was coming, and one morning, she woke up with a quiet certainty that filled her with both joy and trepidation. She was pregnant. When she told Ifeanyi, his face lit up with a joy that momentarily eclipsed all his worries. He hugged her fiercely, lifting her off her feet. A baby! Our baby! This is truly a blessing, my love. He vowed then and there that he would marry her, formalize their union, and present her to his family as his wife and the mother of his child. He felt an unprecedented surge of courage. Now, with a child on the way, his family would surely understand. They had to. Ifeanyi flew to his family home in Anambra, armed with confidence in the joyful news of Amarachi's pregnancy. He sat his parents down, told them about the baby, and then, with a hopeful smile, declared his intention to marry Amarachi. The reaction was not what he expected. The air in the room thickened with a palpable disapproval. Mama Ifeanyi's face hardened. Papa Ifeanyi's jaw tightened. Ifeanyi, his mother began, her voice low and dangerous. Have you lost your mind? Amarachi? That girl from Imo State? And you say she is pregnant? Mama, please! Ifeanyi pleaded. She stood by me when I had nothing. She is a good woman, and she's carrying my child. Stood by you? Papa Ifeanyi interjected, his voice booming. What about us? Your family? The good name we have preserved? Do you know what people will say? Marrying an emo woman? And one who gets pregnant out of wedlock, no less. The words hit Ifeanyi like physical blows. Out of wedlock? We have been together for years. We are committed. Commitment is one thing, son. Marriage is another. Mama Ifeanyi said, her eyes cold. We have found a suitable wife for you, a daughter of Chief Uchendu. She is from a reputable Anambra family. This is the match that will elevate you, solidify your standing. Not some girl from Emo who snuck her way into your life and got pregnant to trap you. Rejection, humiliation, regret. The conversation devolved into a shouting match. Ifeanyi pleaded, argued, reminded them of Amarachi's unwavering loyalty, her sacrifices, her faith in him when no one else believed. He even mentioned her role in connecting him to Ngozi, and by extension, to his current success. So she's your charity case now? His father scoffed. You don't owe her anything, but even if you think you do, perhaps, a business. But not our family name, not our lineage, his mother added, and a child born out of wedlock with an emo woman? What kind of inheritance is that for our family? The words were brutal, laced with tribal prejudice, and a chilling disregard for the woman who had shared his darkest days. They painted Amarachi as an opportunist, a schemer, someone beneath their status. They threatened to disown him, to cut him off, to bring shame upon their ancestral name if he dared to marry her. Ifeanyi returned to Lagos, his spirit crushed. The joy of his impending fatherhood was overshadowed by the bitter taste of his family's rejection. He felt like a boy again, powerless and caught between two immovable forces. He saw the truth of his parents' biases, their archaic views, but also the weight of their expectations, the deep-seated cultural norms he had always been taught to respect. He looked at Amarachi, radiant with the glow of early pregnancy, completely unaware of the storm that had broken over his head. How could he tell her? How could he tell her that the family he had worked so hard to make proud, the family he had envisioned welcoming her with open arms, had instead deemed her unworthy, an outsider, a source of shame? The humiliation was a burning ember in his gut. He, the successful Ifeanyi, was still, in his family's eyes, a pawn in their game of lineage and tradition. He had conquered poverty, but he couldn't conquer prejudice. A creeping regret began to fester within him. Regret that he hadn't married her earlier, when they were poor, when his family wouldn't have cared as much. Regret that he had allowed their success to become a tool for his family's manipulation. Regret that he had promised her a future he now felt powerless to deliver. The weight of it all was suffocating. He had fought so hard for prosperity, only to find that it came with its own, far more insidious chains. The next conversation with Amarachi, he knew, would be the hardest of his life. How did it go? How's Mama and Papa? Amarachi asked when they're having dinner. They're all good, Ifeanyi managed to say, as the food refused to go down his throat. So, when are your people coming to see mine? Amarachi asked, rubbing her tummy, but no answer came. Are you okay? You've been moody since you got back home? Amarachi probed. They're against you being pregnant out of wedlock. Ifeanyi managed to say, that shouldn't be a problem. At least we're getting married soon. Amarachi obliviously said, they don't think you are good enough for me and the fact that you're from Imo State, Ifeanyi said, holding hands with her, trying to pacify her of any emotion that might arouse. Those words were too piercing for Amarachi. She found her warm mouth cold like ice, her hands trembling. An ocean of tears clouded her eyes. She left grip of Ifeanyi and went upstairs to sob, and Ifeanyi followed suit. After the comforting words from Ifeanyi and the reassurance that with time his family will come around soon, she became herself again. She believed that soon enough they would look past the interstate conflict. But how sooner can it be, because her family are already impatient about his family coming, and she being pregnant out of wedlock? Her family regarded her act disgraceful and shameful to their name. Ifeanyi, on the other hand, has been receiving lots of convincing words and threat of disownment from his family. They begged him not to dilute their lineage. Hours turn into days, days turn into weeks, and so was Amarachi's pregnancy. Her pregnancy was just 5 months old. when one evening she was in the kitchen trying to satisfy her cravings when she heard a hard knock on the door and on answering, saw her supposed-to-be mother-in-law with a pretty young lady and some luggages. Her heart jumped to her tummy, but she composed herself. "Welcome, Mama," Amarachi said, making the way for them to enter. "Where's my son?" Ifarni's mother asked. "He's yet to be back from work." Amarachi said, confused of the big luggages and the young lady. "Loveth, make yourself very comfortable. This is your husband's house, okay?" Ifarni's mother said to the young lady she came with. "Husband?" Amarachi asked in bewilderment. "Oh, he still haven't told you? Well, this is Loveth, my son Ifarni's traditional wedded wife, and she's already carrying my grandchild," Ifarni's mother said, adjusting her head tie. Amarachi was shocked, confused, and speechless. She was expecting her to laugh it off as a joke or prank, but none happened. "How's she traditional married to him?" Amarachi found herself asking. "We've been married for 2 months now, and I'm already 3 months gone," she said, flashing proof of their traditional married pictures to her. Ifarni had secretly married Loveth after she got pregnant by him and has been hiding from Amarachi. Amarachi's legs became wobbly. She had noticed some changes in Ifarni's attitude, but she attributed them to work. The constant midnight calls and traveling now made sense, and just then the door jagged opened as Ifarni rushed in, almost as though something was chasing him. Seeing his mom, Loveth, and the luggages already knew the cat had been left out of the bag. He was too shameful to look at Amarachi. "Is what Mama's saying true?" Amarachi asked with a shaky voice. Hi, it's not how I wanted it to be," Ifarni stammered. "If I were you, I would rush back to my parents' house, because there's no home for you here." His mother cut in. Everything seems so unbelievable for her. She's only seen such occurrence in movies and never believed them, and now it's just unfolding before her very eyes. Amarachi found herself in her bedroom picking few of her things as her brain was yet to pick up what was happening. She shakily reached downstairs with her box. "So, after everything, thank you," Amarachi said, flogging the engagement ring at him. "I'm so sorry that we ended this way. I will always support you, just be a call away," Ifarni said, trying to hug her, but she pushed him off as she dragged the box along with her. "Oh, something is burning," Loveth said, running to the kitchen to check on what Amarachi was cooking before they came in. Ifarni attempted running after her, but his mother held him back. "Don't be a weakling," she said as she tightened her wrapped hands around his waist. As she dragged the box out of his gate, her heart was heavier than the box and unsure where to head to, and just then, a taxi drove by. She stopped it and hopped in. She found it hard to believe everything that has just happened. She's yet to realize the reality of what had happened. The betrayal. She wished she had listened and taken the advice of her loved ones about Ifarni and his family. She never thought that her years of relentless love and sacrifice would result to shame and disgrace. She was more heartbroken about Ifarni cheating than his family rejecting her. How would she face her family? Going back to the very ones that have always warned her about him, and his family was the last time she would want to do. She doesn't want the blames, rejection at the moment. She just doesn't know where to head to. "Madam, where you say you'd go again?" the impatient taxi man asked, also coming to a halt. "To the park, any park," Amarachi found herself saying. After about 5 minutes, the driver stopped at a transportation park. She paid him and alighted. While dragging her box out from the car, boot came one of the park agberos. "Mama, where you dey go? Near Abuja ba? One person remaining," he said, helping her carry the bag to the bus. She was just following him, unsure of her decision. She's never been to Abuja, but being far from anyone that knows her was all she wants. After some minutes she paid and got seated, their journey began. Her coming to Abuja was a decision she made in seconds and hoped for the best. After long hours of drive and feeling nauseous, they finally arrived at Abuja. She lounged in an hotel to get clarity, and as she laid on that bed, the reality of what had happened hit her. She sobbed really hard. She attempted taking her life, and just then her phone buzzed, and it was her mom. "Amy, baby, hope you're good," her mother asked. "Yes, Mama, I'm very fine," Amarachi said, holding her noise as she hurried the conversation to an end. The thought of her family gave her hope. She cried herself to sleep. She woke up the next day with thoughts of terminating the pregnancy, but fear of the unknown gripped her, knowing Ifarnyi might have been the greatest mistake of her life. But she believed the child she's carrying shall be a beacon of hope to her. She texted her sister, telling her that she traveled to Abuja and will be there for a while, maybe until she puts to bed. Just a little vacation, like she puts it. Undisclosing what had happened was almost as if she's protecting Ifarnyi from their anger and wrath. And after sending the message to her sister, she messaged Ifarnyi, "You shall never have the joy of true love and parenthood." After sending the messages, removed her SIM card from her phone. To lost connection from everyone. Her experience in Abuja wasn't that rosy, an experience she never thought of having. After she exhausted her money on hotel payments, that's when she realized her financial mistake. That hot afternoon with her growing bump, her box, and as hunger was gnawing at her, roamed around the street for help. She saw a booming street restaurant and went in to eat. After eating, she narrated her ordeal of being stranded and pleaded with the owner to have her very expensive wig as payment. But the woman refused. "Wetin I want carry wig do? Me way be old mama. You go stay with me and work for me, since you have nowhere to go to." "Abuja no good," Madame Ego said, and Amarachi excitedly agreed, unaware of her incoming suffering. Life was so hell for Amarachi living with Madame Ego. She fed on her vulnerability, treating her as a maid both at home and in shop. Amarachi works so tirelessly every day. Despite her condition, she wakes up by 4 a.m. and can only sleep by 11 p.m. Her customers insultive, her two children, a young boy and a girl, insultive. It got to a point she called Ifarnyi against her wish for help, and he ignored her calls and texts. She tried running away but had no courage to. She regretted coming to Abuja, and every seconds of her day cursed Ifarnyi. She resigned her fate to God. One fateful afternoon, a customer came to buy 2 bottles of water, and after making payment and was about to leave, saw someone familiar. "Amarachi," a familiar voice called, and on turning saw Chidi. "Oh my God, Chidi, good to see you," she said, wishing the ground could open for her to fall in. "What are you doing here?" Chidi concerning asked, scanning her wholly. "I work here," Amarachi said, trying to wave off the shame with a pretentious smile. "You of all people work here as how?" Chidi curiously asked, and just then an ocean of tears clouded Amarachi's eyes. Tears of retrospect, tears of regret, tears of shame. Just then he gently led her to his car. "How's Ifarnyi?" Chidi asked, but Amarachi unexpectedly gave no response. "Are you both not together anymore?" he innocently asked, and Amarachi became very uncontrollable after Chidi was able to calm her. She detailed everything to him, and how she ended up working where she works. Chidi felt very pity for her. He wished he could tell her how disappointed he is, but that wouldn't change anything. She's already down to be pinned on the ground. "How far gone are you?" Chidi asked, looking at the pregnancy. "I'm 7 months gone," Amarachi said, trying to wipe off her tears. "This is your last day working here. I have an apartment, but I will have to do some furnishing. If you don't mind, I will have to lodge you in a hotel for a few days while I get it ready." "If that's okay with you," Chidi said, handing her a face wipe to wipe her nostrils, and just then she saw his wedding band. "You're married?" Amarachi asked with some mixed feelings. "Yes, I'm married with 3 beautiful kids. A happy family man you're seeing here," Chidi said, lighting up the atmosphere, and a pang of jealousy ran through her. She went and thanked Madame Ego before they left. Within 3 days, Chidi furnished one of his estate apartments and brought her there. She was too stormed to speak. "Chidi, are you serious? Oh my God." Amarachi couldn't believe her eyes. "Oh yeah, and I'm glad you like it," Chidi said, closing the door behind them. "I don't just like it, I love it. Thank you so much," Amarachi said, trying to kneel in appreciation, but Chidi held her. "Don't do that. I only help in the little way I can. You can stay as much as you want, even if it's forever, with your baby on the way. I think it's best to invite your sister over. You need all the care at this moment, and I believe they're more worried about you than what had happened," Chidi advised. "I'm grateful for your help. Thank you so much. By the end of this week, I will send something to go for your baby's shopping," he said as Amarachi bursted out crying while giving him a hug. She couldn't believe that the man whom she rejected was the one who loved her the most. I know I'm happily married, but I wished it was you I ended up with, Chidi said, consoling her. After he left, Amarachi began deliberating on his advice. After much deliberation, she called her sister, who was more happy to hear from her than mad at her. She promised to be in Abuja the next day. When her sister Chamaka came, it was a sweet, bitter moment for them. She recounted on how she had believed she went to Abuja for a little vacation like she said, but believed to have seen her in Ifarni's car one day, and she didn't acknowledge her. She tried calling her, but her number was switched off, and being bothered went to their house. And on getting there, the gate man told her that Oga and Madam went to the hospital because Madam suffered miscarriage. She rushed to the hospital thinking it was her sister, but on getting there, met a different person, who Ifarni identified as his wife. She was gobsmacked. Gradually, they started putting one and two together. You should have gotten rid of the pregnancy, nah, her sister, Chamaka, said, after she had told her what happened. I couldn't. I was almost 6 months gone. I was scared. Mama dey vex for you, but it's all good that you learnt a lesson. Omo, thank God for Chidiyu, Chamaka said. Few weeks later, Amarachi put to bed. She gave birth to a bouncing baby boy who was a replica of Ifarni and same date with him. Her mother, out of joy of having a grandchild, forgave and visited her. With her sister and mother by her side and constant help from Chidi, lacks nothing. 3 years later, while scrolling the internet on a Sunday morning, Ifarni came across a post from a mutual who posted Amarachi and her child, wishing him a belated birthday. Ifarni's heart almost stopped breathing. The child didn't only look like him, but have same birthday with him. They're looking all cheerful and good. He wished he could turn back the hands of time. He regretted not fighting for the one he loved. During his wife's miscarriage, her womb ruptured, and since then they have been trying and praying for a miracle.